Hey everybody, this is Combat Carl from the LSUK forums. I'm putting together this tutorial. It's just basics of map making and Giants editor tutorial. I've seen a lot of good tutorials on the website, but I haven't seen a good video tutorial, and I know that a lot of people like those video tutorials, so I'm putting one together. This follows along the same lines as William7530's All You Need to Know About Mapping tutorial, which you can find in the mod help and how to section of the forums under the library thread, which is a really good thread if you need help with anything. There's a lot of good tutorials in there, but this one follows that tutorial pretty closely on as far as content goes, and I'm kind of going to try and expand on a few things just to make it easier to understand. So the first thing we're going to do is getting your map and mod set up. In your game directory there is a folder called SDK. So if you navigate to your game directory, so if you got the game from Steam, it'll be in your Steam Apps, Common, Farming Simulator 2011, and SDK. Or if you have pulled it from a disk or something, then it'll probably just be under Program Files, Farming Simulator, and then SDK. Once you're in your SDK folder, you'll see a couple of zip files and stuff, and the one you want is the sample mod map zip file. So go ahead and open that and unzip it to your desktop or wherever you want to stash your your folder full of mod files. So once you have that all unzipped, I've already got it done out here. Go ahead and check out your folder. You've got all these nice folders inside of it, plus all the Lua and XML files that you need to set up your map descriptions, and your map file, your actual i3D, which is your map01. Now that's what you'll be opening in Giants to edit, and a good idea right now is to go ahead and make a copy of that file and paste it, in that folder, or make a separate folder for it or whatever. But it's always good to have a backup map file. I'll just rename this to backup, or map01 backup. Now you want to leave your map01 file i3D left named map01. There's a way you can change it, but it's a big process that really doesn't need to happen. And if you change it without changing its associated stuff, then it won't work. So just leave it named the way it is. So once you've got all that stuff unzipped, you can go ahead and open your Giants editor and open your map through Giants. I've already got Giants open here, so you can just pull down your file menu and pop open your, navigate to your folder and open it just like in any other program. A quick overview of the interface. You've got your regular file menu like every other Windows program ever made. Your basic file options: save, new, reload, open i3D and text editor, and a couple other ones, undo and redo. You've got your terrain editing tools along here. You've got texture reload buttons here. You've got a play button for the simulator, which actually, if you need to test physics or whatever, or scripting, you can use that play button. On the left hand side of your screen, you've got the scene graph, and that's a breakdown of all the objects you have in your map and the hierarchy tree that they're on, and you'll see that kind of build as we go along. On the right hand side of the screen, you've got your attributes window, and that shows, when you have an object selected, it shows all the individual attributes of an object, like its position on the map, its scale, whether or not it's a colliding object, and a lot of other things. On the bottom, you've got your scripting window, and it shows you can run scripts in here if you know how to do that, which I don't. I'm just a mapper. And it also shows you what's going on, when it's saving, how long it's taking, when it's loading, that kind of stuff. I usually pull this down out of the way just to give me a little bit more room to work. Basic controls. Oh yeah, when you open your map, it's not going to look like this. It's going to look like the original Farming Simulator map, the one that shipped with the game. I've gone ahead and flattened all this out. You can go ahead and do that too if you know the controls. If not, there's a lot of downloadable maps or available on the LSUK download center that are just flat maps ready to go, and you can get them there. They're really easy to find. Um, or if you want to do it yourself, by the end of this tutorial, hopefully you'll know how to do that. I have deleted all the objects from the map except a couple. If you do choose to do it your way and level the map yourself, make sure you leave the stuff that's the terrain, the water plane, the sun, and your camera, because you can't get them anywhere. You have to have them with the i3D file. So if you delete them, you can't get them back. So just make sure you leave those. I like to leave the career start point just so I don't have to go find it in the folders again, and that dictates where you start when you start your game. Alright, so some controls for navigation in the 3D space. Everything's controlled by the Alt key and your mouse. If you hold your Alt key, that's kind of like your modifier for your mouse, and you can just do all kinds of controls with the camera, like zooming and panning and rotating. So with your left mouse button held down, click and drag, and holding the Alt key, you can rotate the camera around itself. And then with the middle mouse button and holding the Alt key, you can pan the camera left and right and up and down. And with the right mouse button and holding the Alt key, you can zoom in and out. Now, when you first start with Giants, if you just installed it and downloaded it or installed it or however you did, your nav speed down here in the right hand corner is probably set pretty low, probably set like, I don't know, 10 or so. I can't remember what the default is. And to me it was super slow, especially when I wanted to zoom in and out. So you can change that, and you change that with your keypad plus and minus. So you can turn it up to 35. You can turn it all the way down to 0 or 1, and just set it at a speed you like, and it makes things easier. So that's pretty much the camera controls. It takes a little getting used to, but I mean it's pretty straightforward. We got a field left over here that I didn't delete. There's another thing that you'll notice right away with the level of detail. If you zoom in, you'll start seeing the detail textures pop in and fields and stuff pop in, and that's stuff that I haven't deleted yet because I'm lazy and in a hurry. So when you're zoomed way out, you're just going to see pretty mushy textures, but you can zoom in and see all the details like fields and grass, nice sharp textures. And so just keep that in mind when you're looking around. The stuff might be there that's you can't see from far away, like these bushes or something. If there's a way to change your visibility distance, I haven't figured it out yet. As far as I know, there's not, and it's kind of a pain in the butt because it's a really short distance to see. To start, we can open a i3D file to import an object. When you want to place an object on your map, everything on your map is its own separate i3D file. So if you want to place an object, you need to import it, and the way we do that is with this button here, import i3D file, or we can go to file and import. So let's go ahead and hit our button, and it should navigate us to our sample mod map folder. You see we've got our i3D folder or i3D file here. That is our map. And then in these other folders we got all kinds of different goodies. Models especially is what you want. And let's say we want to make one of those nice implement sheds that's so familiar to all of us Farm Sim fans. We'll go to buildings, and we'll scroll down to shed and hit implement shed and open. And that will pop in real quick here, and you'll see it show up on your scene graph. And since it shows up selected, your attributes window fills up with goodies. Also on your map, it pops in usually in the dead center of your whole map at the origin of the world, and so we can move that to where we want it. And the way we do that is with this gizmo here, the movement and transform and rotate gizmo. You can move it along axes, like with X, Y, and Z with these little handles here, and you can rotate along axes with these little circular handles over here. So you can move up and left and right and down and back and forth, all that stuff. That's a real basic way of moving stuff around. Another way to do it is using the interactive placement commands, and that's super easy if you want to just place something on the ground or right in front of you or whatever. And the way you do that is either go to Edit and come down to Interactive Placement, or just hit Control B. So you have your object selected, and say we want to place it on the ground right here. We can hit Control B and click, and bang, there's our nice shed. And you can also hit Control B and click and drag and just place it just where you want it. And that's another way of placing objects with the interactive placement. So now that we've got that out of the way, that's pretty much how you place and move objects with the control handles and with interactive placement. You can also change your transform values over here, or your translate values over here, and the translate values on your attributes panel dictate where it sits on the 3D world, and along 3 axes: up, down, XYZ, up, down, right, left, front, and back. And so you can change these numbers and they'll change the object's placement accordingly. Rotate obviously changes the rotation in degrees along an axis, and the scale changes the size of the object, so we can change the scale up to where the thing's gigantic, or we can change it down to where it's a quarter of the size. Little tiny shed. But we want a normal size shed, so there it is. And you can change the visibility of objects, clip distance. This causes a lot of problems with maps with a lot of objects and lagging and stuff like that, especially high poly objects. People, maybe somebody's made a nice shed, but it's a bajillion polys and it really lags. And you can change clip distances in here, but you have to change them for every object, and I have better luck with just changing global clip distance in the console of the game. So I just leave them where they are. All these down here are your different options, like whether or not it's got collision, and whether or not it's renderable or not, which is actually further down. Whether it casts a shadow, whether it receives shadows from other objects, and names and stuff like that. And that gets into where, if you're doing stuff with triggers, you have names for objects and stuff like that. But that's not what this tutorial is about, so we'll keep moving here.